Hey there, welcome to ATL and 29, a podcast that looks at the NBA from the starting point of Atlanta. My name is Kevin Chenard. I'm here with Glenn Willis and Tyler Jones, and we're recording after win number 10 for the Atlanta Hawks over a very physical Orlando Magic team. Glenn, this was maybe the most hotly contested of the bunch. What did you see from the Hawks in this particular contest?
Well, they came out ready to play. They seemed ready for the physicality, and they kind of took control of the game, early on. And Orlando, it seemed like Orlando was on their heels for most of the game. Interesting that in the fourth quarter, Orlando's second unit came out and played maybe harder than their first unit did across. I don't know. Maybe that's just the way it looked. But that's part one. The other part is who knew the NBA gods like Magic City. So,
Tyler,
Yeah.
what'd you think about this game?
Um, I kind of think I think like, the big key here was their defense for the most part. It kind of let up as the game went on, but um, really, Dyson Daniels never let them get comfortable, you know, operating their sets. So they couldn't get Paolo in the spots that he wanted to get to on offense. And so it's kind of what we were talking about last time on the pod, where it's like, yeah, man, just make it hard for them. Don't give up anything easy. And like the Magic's fundamentals on offense aren't as good as the Hawks. Like I think even though the Hawks were like the shooting ended up evening out towards the end, but like the difference was that the Hawks they can flow to A to B, whereas the Magic, if you take away their first option or whatever it is, it's a lot of pounding the ball. All right, ISO mode. Can I get to the free throw line, et cetera, et cetera. So like I just think overall the Hawks executed better on both ends, which is what they've been doing during this streak. And it's good to see, man. There's a lot of talent on this Hawks team. They didn't let the season slip away as much as it could have during the rough stretch. So it's good that they're capitalizing, and now they got real momentum. They can potentially win 11 straight coming up on Wednesday.
Was there anything that the Hawks did particularly wrong in terms of Paolo getting to the free throw line 16 times? Was there?
I didn't think so personally. I think if anything, they probably could have just forced him to be more of a finisher and like instead of trying to challenge everything. But I don't, I think the game plan was to be super physical with Paolo. I think they're comfortable with him getting all these free throws if in turn the Magic can't get any rhythm on offense. Like a lot of them were bailout, 50-50 calls anyway. So when he doesn't get the call, you're going the other way. Like I think the Hawks were fine with the trade-off of don't give up anything easy to Paolo, force him, you know, including not even allowing him to get easy set jumpers. Like they were just in his face the entire game. So like I'm fine with the fouls. I think a different game, a different referee game, he probably doesn't shoot 16 free throws because like some of them I'm not sure about, but uh I didn't really have an issue with what they did overall.
Yeah, he was 3 for 13 from the field. So I mean, getting the free throw line was really the only place he was trying to kind of generate offense. So they were not letting him get comfortable shots, football attempts up at all. So he tried to bully his way there, and he got there for I guess 8 times, or so. And if that's where the bulk of his points came from, he goes 3 for 13 from the field, then fine.
Speaking of bullying his way to the rim, that might have been a little bit harder given that the Hawks, by and large, went big in this game.
Yep.
They took away some of Corey Kispert's minutes. They played substantial minutes for both Mo Gay and Jonathan Kuminga. And, they did a lot of three big stuff with, you know, lineups that included trios like Onyeka, Mo, and Jalen at the same time. Like, did that look like a sustainable thing? Is that maybe just something very tailored to this opponent, or do you think you're going to see more of this now that Kuminga is healthy?
I mean, Orlando, we talked about this last time. Orlando doesn't really have a point guard on this team, right? So You can switch everything if you want to go big and switch across three, four, 1 through 5, or whatever you want to do. When CJ's on, maybe a little exception, but CJ does his best even when he gets switched onto a bigger ball handler. He tries to compete, but yeah, I think when we went bigger, he shorted Zach's minutes tonight. He shorted Gabe's a little bit tonight. Gabe was good, like Gabe was helpful generating ball pressure, but Quinn swung toward a bigger lineup tonight. I know people are frustrated watching Kuminga play tonight. He's got to play some, or he's not going to be ready for the critical stretch at the end of the season. So, I think it was good that he pulled him when he did, because Magic were kind of pushing back and he wasn't really helping a lot tonight. But if you just like don't play him until like mid-April, he's not going to have he's going to need like 3 games to kind of get himself back in the groove. So if he's playing once a week, even if it's just 18 minutes a game or whatever, just get him on the floor and let him get some, feel or whatever. It was another rough game for him, but like I said, if they just don't play him, they're going to need him during that final 12 or so games where there's 8 of them are pretty tough.
What
I
did
mean,
you? Oh, go ahead.
I thought Kuminga was good for the majority of the game until the fourth quarter. Um, I and you see the flaws in his game, where it's like he can lose confidence pretty easily, and then like he loses, like he just tunnel visions. Like his MO is I got to get to the rim, draw contact, get to the free throw line. Where I mean, I'm pretty sure him and the coach are going to rewatch the game where it's like, all right, you did the hard part, getting 2 feet in the paint. Now kick it out. Trust your teammates to make a play here. Because like there was a couple possession where he's getting right to the front of the rim, and like either some of them I thought he got fouled on, but that's kind of the nature of the game. It's similar to Paolo. So, like, I just think he needed a little bit more composure. I didn't really have a problem with Kuminga. Like, his rebounding was massive. The size and physicality that he brings and plays with matters way more right now than what his offensive production is going to be, particularly in the half court. I'm not worried about it. I thought overall he was a positive because the best thing he did, once again, was that he was particularly in the first half, he was able to take minutes away from the starters, like take minutes away from Jalen, take minutes away from Onyeka, and like that's massive because every minute that those two didn't have to play, Quinn could lean on them a little bit more in the second half when things weren't as smooth as they were in the first half. So like that's where the value is. I know he had a bad stretch in the fourth quarter, but overall I thought he was like helping the team win this game, until that stretch. But by that point, the game was kind of already over. So like, you can only be so frustrated with what he was doing, but you would like to see him continue to play unselfish basketball the way he had before this recent stretch of his right now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
I thought he
officiating was
was.
strange. Like the first,
Yeah.
real quick, first 3 quarters they were like calling everything. In the fourth quarter, they just stopped calling fouls. It's just like how does that change happen in the middle of the game? It's so strange to watch.
Yeah, it was super frustrating because like, you know, towards the end, Goga Batadze was just actively trying to hurt Nikhil Alexander Walker on a couple
Yeah.
screens. I'm like, this is ridiculous. And so like I don't blame the Hawks for like getting back at him because it's just I don't know. It's just like this is what NBA referees do sometimes. They feel like the game's getting out of hand. They want to give the other team the opportunity, so they'll let 50 calls go a little bit. I just think like the only reason why this was a closer game is because of the referees just decided not to call fouls, not reward the Hawks for driving to the paint, creating contact, and just not getting the call. Like I just, they ended up still winning by 12. They were the overwhelmingly better team overall, but it was frustrating that last stretch of game.
It was weird, like the when he when Orlando pulled their starters with 4 minutes left or whatever it was like the referees took that as a signal of, oh, hey, this game is over. So now we'll just have a running clock and this thing will get to the end. And it's like, no, they came in to be super physical and press and, try to get up into your body for those last 4 minutes. And it's like, you needed to have more attentive officiating, not less. That wasn't a concession right there where you could just say, hey, let's just see if we can get this thing to the end. But I want to go
Agreed.
back to Kuminga for a second. Like,
Yeah.
I thought he was helpful in the first half too.
Agreed.
And like you can see, like it's not natural yet, but he's very clearly trying to play with the pass the right way. And you could see that in the first half, but it was like when he got frustrated, then it became more difficult for him to continue that. Then he started looking for a specific play. And it's trickier for him because, like Jalen, he's like one of only two people on the whole roster that should be looking to try to absorb contact and finish at the rim. I thought the Suggs that he took the charge. I mean, I if it had been any other player, maybe I would be a little bit disappointed in that. But like it was so fractionally close. Like Suggs was still straightening himself up to get into the position to take that charge. And so yeah, there's a pass there, but Kuminga's MO is to try to create contact and drive free throws. And I think that's sort of what he was looking for in that play if he wasn't going to get a clean finish. So it's marginal. And like Tyler said, you just got to keep playing him because it's close enough. Like there are some margins where he can improve, but this team needs him. And, it's not going to happen unless they keep trying to hammer out the rough edges.
Yeah, and Suggs is a very high level kind of technique defender. I mean, he's very, very precise in everything he does defensively. Rough, pretty rough offensively. Got kind of comes and goes, not the shooter that you want, but defensively he generates a ton of ball pressure. He bothers you, a lot, and he kind of gets to a spot. His technique is super clean all the time. So, and Kuminga's like played once a week the last 2 weeks, like, or something about around that. So, you know, feel, rhythm, kind of timing, all that sort of stuff is still going to be something that's going to just kind of come and go with him while he's playing sporadically, I think.
How would you describe what Onyeka Okongwu has done over the course of this winning streak? I mean, is it just sort of regular Onyeka stuff, just kind of amped up and done a little bit better than usual, or is there anything else to it?
I thought he
He's
rebounded really well tonight, like really well tonight. And again, it's like it's one of those things. So Orlando went to a zone to try to kind of, change the pace of the game, change the feel of the game, and that takes your center away in some cases, in that sense. So I thought he was helpful tonight, for sure. But it's one of those things where it's like, okay, I'm not going to get as many opportunities on offense to get my threes up or whatever. He was aggressive on the offensive glass, got a couple putbacks. She's like, okay, I'm going to play defense, and I'm going to work on the defensive glass, and I'm going to try to secure rebounds. I'm going to try to contribute on this end. And when like, okay, what the other team is running defensively, it's just I'm not going to be able to kind of get into the paint and get to my spots and get to my floater over my left shoulder or whatever. I'm going to go work my butt off on the defensive end. And I think that was a good kind of personal trade-off decision for him that really had a positive impact on the game for the Hawks tonight.
Tyler, what do you think in
no,
terms of
Onyeka,
how
Onyeka's
Onyeka's
been
played over
he's
the
been
course of
incredible.
the winning streak?
He's been incredible. Like, and a big part of it is he's playing less per game. Like he's playing less per game. He has more energy. And the biggest thing he's done, and Quinn's talked about, is like he's absolutely clearing these guys out on these rebounds. Like he's always in because the Hawks are no longer giving up uh blow bys on defense for the most part. Like their guards are staying in front of their man. Onyeka's like ability to stay in front of guys on the perimeter while also his strength to be able to box out bigger players and free up Jalen Johnson to get these defensive rebounds. I mean, that's the formula for success for this Hawks team. And so, like, I think Kongwu's been really good in basically all areas, and he's really like you look at the impact metrics. Uh, Pretty much since they got a backup center, he's been one of the better centers in the league. So, like to me, this is the Nyeka that the Hawks had drafted 6 overall, and I mean he's been great the entire season. To me, like really an unsung hero, just because of all the things that he does on both ends of the floor to keep to keep the ball moving on offense while also defensively kind of being an organizer, being a guy who you don't have to worry about. Like Onyeka's like he's probably been Quinn's most consistent basketball player, if that makes sense, where you know what you're getting from Onyeka night in and night out. He's basically like replicated a lot of what Al Horford used to do for the Hawks back in the day. on both ends a lot for just how solid he is. Like, I don't know if I think he has. I still think he could potentially make an All-Star team, depending on if he can up the scoring a little bit more, just because of how great of a shooter he is at the position. So like I just think like he's been incredible, and like he's a big reason why the Hawks are had been as good as they were before the injuries almost cratered their season. But like he's him being healthy throughout the year is like it's been massive for like everybody. Like, everybody's just better playing next to Onyeka.
Yeah, he just, he does so much on offense to keep the team connected. When you were comparing Atlanta and Orlando before, and you're talking about, okay, option one isn't there, option two might not be there. Can you get to your third option? And can you play and, keep things going? Like Onyeka is a great connector. And so, he's just one of those guys that with his spacing and his passing, like he makes their offense look better than the opponent's offense, even when it's two teams like tonight that are super physical. And he just does the little things so well. There was one tonight where he set a Gortat screen and he didn't take out one person. He took out two to get Jalen a layup. And it's like, my goodness, like it
Yeah,
was it wasn't even illegal. He just put his body in exactly the right spot that neither player could even have a shot to getting anywhere near Jalen.
and then he had another play where two like he was trying to give the ball back to Jalen. Then he like did a head like a sort of head fake to get Jalen open, cutting to the rim for an easy layup. So like, I mean, he's just so good, and like I'm really happy for him because uh, since the shootings come along, like he's just getting better and better, and like this is the best year of his career. And I really think what's been a difference is like the defense for the entire team, particularly with him in the game. Like they've gone up another level defensively. Like that's just the reality. And I think Onyeka is a big part of that because the Hawks are now consistently rebounding in ways that they weren't to start the year. Like they've completely fixed that area of their game, and that's really helped them.
It's funny that you said that, maybe he makes an all-star team. I've always thought of it as can he make like a national team? Like can he play in a, FIFA World Cup, or can he play in an Olympics? Because it seems like he should be right there, sort of nipping at the tail end of whatever depth chart is available to the United States. All right. Is there anything else I'm missing from this game?
We
I
can talk
guess
about Nikhil.
we should probably talk about Nickeil Alexander-Walker at some point. It feels like he played a basketball game tonight.
Yeah, he was so good. Um, it's kind of funny. It's like, he was one away from tying the Hawks franchise record for 3-point makes in a game, and I think he apologized to Mosley after the game. Maybe I'm not
He didn't have
sure.
to
He said
apologize.
something in his post game tonight. He said, you know, that he shot it because it was like a 10 or 12-point game. And he said, if it was a 25-point game, I don't shoot that, but they were being aggressive.
Yep,
He needed
exactly.
to keep playing. You don't just hand the ball to them and let them try to come back if it's a 10-point game. Like maybe something happens there. So he said that's why he shot that. But if it had been a larger lead, he would not have.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, he was phenomenal tonight, just shooting the basketball and movement shooting and attacking the paint. He's been passing the ball a lot better the last like 5, 7 games. Just been making more precise passes, the bounce passes in traffic. That's something he wasn't doing the first half of the season. Clearly, there's some development that they've been working on there to make better passes in tight space and things like that. So, I mean, he's fun to me. He's fun to watch play on both ends. He just competes like every single possession and sets the tone culture wise in terms of effort wise, and and just kind of leads by example in that way. And it's to me, it's an enjoyable watch.
And I think like a lot of it was the Hawks clearly found something with how the Magic defend him in particular, because like they just were not guarding him as a shooter in the ways that they should have, and like they were not going to let up until they made an adjustment, and they really didn't until the game basically became uncompetitive. So like I just think his ability to shoot off the catch, off movement, and then also attack a closeout. It's just he's hard to guard, and like he's a great fit next to Jalen Johnson. Like, considering everything Jalen's able to do on as a playmaker, and you pair that with Nikhil's play finishing and then ability to drive to the rim, like it's a great like dynamic to have. And the we got to talk about the starters overall, like their effectiveness. Like this is not a fluke anymore, man. Like teams don't know what to do because another aspect is like Dyson's aggressiveness. Like you can't just play off Dyson because he's just going to carve you up as a passer and then set some of the best screens in the NBA, like particularly for shooters. So it's just really hard for teams to figure out what they can take away on offense. And the Hawks have so many guys who are smart with the ball. They're very good at problem solving as a team, as a unit. And it gets them easy looks. Combine that with their defense, which has been elite as well. It's a great starting lineup. And it's the type of lineup that can. I felt this way. This lineup is so good it can carry them through the playoffs if they're all healthy. So this is something to like really monitor for this Hawks team this season.
Yeah, CJ had a rough one tonight, 3 for 14, 1 for 7, but he's still plus 20, you know.
But it's the
So that
process. It's
yeah.
the process of how they all play,
Yeah.
particularly unit plays more than like the results. Like, okay, CJ has a bad shooting night, but like he's getting great looks.
Yeah.
He's consistently getting great looks. Nikhil's consistently getting great looks. Jalen is consistently getting great looks. That is how you stack up wins like the Hawks have, and how you beat teams by double digits when you consistently play the right way, where you insulate yourself from like poor shooting nights.
Do you feel that same way, Glenn, that Tyler was saying about, what this 5-man unit might look like in the playoffs?
I mean, I think they're tough. I would say all the time in a playoff setting, the other team gets more time and space to game plan against you. They're gonna make it harder on Jalen, but I've said before all the time, thank God CJ's on this roster to take that kind of secondary role when he needs to have it, because that takes the workload off of him. But yeah, I mean, I think this is a really good starting five, and I was on a podcast with Rashad and Malik a couple of days ago. We were talking about what's the matchup that you want for them, right? Depending upon if they get 6 or to wherever. I mean, now 5 through 8 is like five or six team, five teams maybe. I think that's squished into a game and a half. I think a range after at the end of tonight, and so there's a lot of opportunity for the Hawks to kind of push up through that if they just keep playing hard, keep playing consistently, etc. So
Okay, well, you posed the question, now answer it.
in
Is there
terms
a
of
team in the top 4 that you would want to play if you're the Hawks?
one of the things we talk about is Cleveland versus New York. I think I don't know if people been watching the Knicks. But Mike Brown has been playing Mitchell Robinson and Cat together. That is a massive, and then like basically OG is playing the three. Like when they'll close games with that group, that's rough for the Hawks' lack of size 3 through 5. I think that's a tough matchup. Now the Hawks' defensive backcourt can offset that, hopefully, but that's kind of a rebounding kind of nightmare matchup if that's the way Mike Brown wants to swing in the playoff. I think the Cavs are a better matchup for the Hawks. Like, Evan Mobley's not that strong. He's an improved shooter at the 3-point line. Jared Allen's been hurt off and on this year. Harden doesn't look very well integrated when I watch them play. Here and there, he doesn't look like very well integrated. And so I think the Cavs are a better matchup than the Knicks, in that sense. But I mean, if the Hawks keep improving and really staying committed to playing defense, using defense to create offense, then who knows? But the Knicks are just way bigger than the Cavs, like at 4 or 5. They're just, I mean, and they literally play OG at the 3 now, like a lot, So that's a tough matchup for me. So for me, I think it's Cavs.
How do you feel about that, Tyler?
I don't know. Uh, I'm not too worried. I'll wait. It's too early for all that, so it's tough to say. I haven't watched the Knicks recently. I didn't know that Cat and Mitchell were playing so much more together now, but I think the Knicks have too many holes. Like at the end of the day, Dyson Daniels, like he can guard Jalen Brunson without any help, and then on offense he can take advantage of Jalen Brunson for a lot of things. And the thing about this Hawks 5-man unit, you can't hide anybody. Like if you have a bad defender, somebody's going to get exposed. And so like that's where, the Knicks have a couple bad defenders like uh, Cat and Mitchell. Like how comfortable are they going to be guarding Jalen Johnson and Onyeka Okongwu, 25, 30 feet away from the rim? So like I think that's a point in the Hawks' favor. Like I don't and now that the Hawks don't give up offensive rebounds because they don't give up dribble penetration. Like so it's tough for teams to get good like offensive rebound opportunities because the Hawks aren't in rotation. Like they just aren't in rotation anymore. So I think the Knicks are a good matchup. I think the Cavs, like Glenn said, they're just a smaller team, and smaller teams have a hard like if the Hawks are bigger physically, like they have an easier time, particularly at the forward position. And like the Cavs are still small in that area. So like that's where it's like, but again, it's too early for that. I just want to see this Hawks team continue to build here, get Kuminga a little bit more comfortable and confident on both ends of the floor. Cause like I think that he could be massive for the Hawks. Like getting Kuminga, because I think the thing they're going to want to unlock is Mo Gay at center, because I'm not sure if Landale will be able to hold up on in a playoff setting. Like I just think he has too many holes defensively. Uh, Whereas in the regular season it's fine, but like you kind of saw it tonight. Landale's in the game. Paolo's just going right at him the entire time. And like Quinn in the second half was just like, all right, if Paolo's in the game, I got to have Onyeka on the floor. Like it can't be Landale, and that's one of those things where it's like, all right, they can get Kuminga a little bit online here. Can we? Because like Kuminga, for all the flaws, the defensive rebounding has been fantastic.
Yes.
And so like to me, I'm like, all right, let's see. And the strength in particular that he plays with on the defensive end, like that's something the Hawks have needed for a long time now. I want to see if they can get away with playing Mo at center, because Mo, again, for as good as Landale is, Mo is just flat out a better basketball player than Jack Landale. And like he's a guy I want out there on the playoffs over Landale, period. Like I just think that will help this Hawks team, considering what he does on really primarily on defense, but also a little bit offensively, like as well. Like I think Landale's limitations athletically hurts him there as well. Whereas but in the regular season, you need a Landale like that. That's just this season has shown that the Hawks have needed a Landale for the entire year. But I want to see if they can get Mo center minutes going a little bit here and see if they can buy some minutes for Okongwu, because right now that's probably the biggest weak point the Hawks have is like backup center minutes at the moment.
There was a possession tonight where Boncaro tried to drive on Kuminga, and Kuminga did a good enough job moving his feet that it ended up turning into sort of a bang bang post up where he was trying to just kind of bang and knock back his way to the rim, and Nikhil came over and fouled and ended it, and I was just disappointed that it didn't go further. I wanted to see how that was going to.
Yeah, the strength again, like Paolo tried to go through Kuminga's chest, and Kuminga wasn't having it. He should have
Yeah.
flopped the charge, but he was going mano y mano there. I get it. So, but like I get it. I get like some Hawks fans are frustrated with Kuminga. I love the way he played. Like he was super physical. Like you saw it a couple times off ball. He was shoving dudes out the way. I'm like, man, Hawks have needed somebody like this for a while now. And so like I don't want him to lose confidence in what he is as a player, because like there's a really good player here. Um, I just think he got a little. I just think he got a little bit in his head a little bit in the fourth quarter. But like the physicality that he plays with on both ends, that's going to be massive in the playoffs, and they're going to need it.
Can we shout out Adam Silver for leaking that there was going to be a French expansion team potentially in Las Vegas on the very same day that the Hawks weren't allowed to have Magic City night?
Yeah,
Putting a team in Sin City.
something about
Glenn and I
pop.
are older. Like the four professional leagues avoided Las Vegas like the plague until whenever the dam broke, because
It
They did.
shouldn't be in Vegas. It shouldn't be in Vegas because like Vegas isn't as big as it used to be. Like you look at the trends, like I think that would be a mistake relative to where people are living and what where people actually live, like just flat out. Like there's just not that many people living in Vegas. So like I think, you know, I don't know why they have this, insistence on Vegas, but uh I also, I kind of want to get back to the Hawks a little bit here because I want to talk about CJ McCollum's defense. Like I
That's good. I'm curious to hear about this one. This is actually something I've been thinking about, but I've dodged it because I don't think I've really reached an opinion yet.
it's like it's been good enough, right? Like
Right.
I feel like the things he does well is like he's not giving up blow bys, and he while he's not tall, like he has long arms and he's big, and so like he's often guarding basketball players that cannot physically go through him, and then he has the long arms and good like reaction time to contest shots, and that's really all they need from him, primarily because like he's surrounded by a bunch of good defenders, and it's a good like I said this when the Hawks traded for him, like I thought they can get more out of CJ defensively because like this is like really for the first time in his career a good defensive environment for him.
That's right.
And so like I think now when he's not playing with the starters, it gets really bad. But I don't think that's necessarily a him problem, more just like, all right, him and Kispert's kind of rough, especially with Landale. You're really pushing it there. So like I just think overall, Quinn, I think Quinn punted again. Quinn punted those lineups pretty quickly. I think he understood the assignment that the Hawks needed to win this game. So, but I just think overall as a team, this is a good environment for CJ, really on both ends of the floor.
Any parting thoughts here, Glenn? Any thoughts about Dallas?
I mean, it's a game they should win. It'll be interesting to see who plays. It'll be interesting if they feel like, hey, this is a game we don't might not need diet. Whoever might be banged up a little bit. Because like I said, we're past the 2 days off, 2 days off, 2 days off. We're into every other day for the most part for the rest of the way. So picking their spots where they're going to be against a team that they might not need one starter to win this game or whatever to keep everybody fresh. That's the thing for me. But hopefully everybody's feeling good and they're playing in Dallas, I assume, right? They're probably going on the road. So but yeah, it's a game they should on paper they should go in and win this game. But like I said. NBA teams are, have talent on it. And last time Middleton and Clay almost shot Dallas back into that game themselves, even though they gave up a lot of defense. So got to be ready for that. Might have to play a little bigger than you want to. And those two guys are on the floors because they're still, capable of just knocking down shots and creating shots. So, yeah, I mean, for me, it's about winning games and getting the team to that final 12, 13 games where there's like 7 or 8 tough games in that stretch where you're fresh and you're picking the right spots to maybe let a guy miss one game just to get off his feet and be ready for that final stretch because that final stretch is going to determine whether they fall 5 through 9. Every single game that last stretch is going to be materially impactful to where they end up seeding wise, play in or higher than that.
Yeah, you wonder if Dallas is getting close to, figuratively pulling the plug and not really trying to go all out for some of these wins. But yeah, in terms of the schedule, it's a road game Wednesday in Dallas, and then it's followed by a Friday, Saturday kind of tricky back to back because they're on the road in Houston before they fly back for the second half of a back to back here in Atlanta Saturday against Golden State. And I know Golden State is banged up, but that's a tricky trip, just traveling time zones and all that. And of course, Houston's going to be a super physical team, so it's a tricky back to back coming up after this Dallas game.
It is, and that's where they might want to, just to pay someone 70%, 80%, whatever it is, maybe figure out how do we fill the best 10-man lineup we can and go out and kind of beat Dallas, even if it ends up being a 8, 10, 12 point win or something along those lines, because Houston's going to be that's the toughest game of the week, easily. And then Golden State on the back to back is even like you said, they're not especially impressive team right now, but that second night on the back to back with travel is hard on your body. So be interesting to see who actually plays on Wednesday versus Dallas and how they set themselves up to maybe try to get 2 wins on Friday, Saturday.
All right. Well, thank you for joining me very late at night, and that 10 in a row. That's an impressive streak. It's time to kind of just savor this one a little bit and think about where it's headed.
Absolutely.
It's full of interesting possibilities.
It absolutely is.
All right, thanks, guys. Good night, Bob.
Good night, Bob.